This started out as a magazine article that I submitted to Milwaukee Road hobbyists many years ago, and they never did anything with it. And so it was called Lazy Man Steamer. And the only thing that I put text that I hate using text in presentations, but I did add this part because this kind of sums everything up. It seems a normal defensive behavior to scoff at what we don't fully understand. I'm not well schooled on steam engines. To me, they are black cylinders with wheels underneath. And that's my defensive behavior. Anyway, this has to do with diesels, but I used this diesel spotter's guide back when I first started rail fanning. This was kind of the Bible. You looked at this to tell the difference between a GP7 and a GP9 and on and on and on. So you learn these spotting features is what I'll call them. So when you look at a locomotive, there are certain spotting features on this thing that you want to check a model against to make sure that it's somewhat correct. When it comes to steam engines, they change these things all the time. So unless you're modeling, you have photos of both sides of a steam engine taken on the same day at the same, at the same time, then you never know what plumbing has been rechanged on the thing. And I'm not going to worry about the plumbing. I'm more after a silhouette. Back when I was in high school, a friend of mine, his dad had a bunch of World War II identification books, and they give silhouettes of different airplanes or tanks or something. And then you were to guess which ones they were. And they tell you at the bottom if you got them right or not. And looking at those books and then looking at the spotter's guide, you can kind of get an idea of whether a steam engine is going to be close enough to even bother with. When it comes to wheel size and stuff like that, you're pretty much screwed unless somebody made a brass one that you can afford to buy. And this is that engine. This is actually a Bachmann 260, one of their Spectrum. This is a very nice running locomotive. It's an actual copy of a Green Bay and Western engine. One thing that's missing on here that I never gave a thought to until just recently, this photo dates back to 11/16 in November of actually 8 years ago. And this was given to me by Barry Carlberg, who caused a serious chain of events in my modeling life because of this friggin' engine. But what I did here is I basically just took the engine as is and added some Minneapolis St. Louis decals to it that I'd had made from artwork Gene Green had done with the engine that's here in town. The one flaw to this engine for modeling other engines is there's no bands around the boiler. And I never even noticed it, but it shows up like crazy when you look at how smooth that jacket is on the boiler jacket is. But anyway, I added some flags because they ran on the branch line that I model. They had scheduled trains, but they annulled them and they ran everything as extras. And I added some old newspaper and some wire, loop of wire for a U-shaped piece of wire for a sunshade over the tender. And that was about all I did to it to start with, because there's just too many other things that are unlike the prototypes. Here I put a ladder. The real one had a ladder on the side, so I added a ladder, and it's not a very nice ladder. So here you see I've replaced the ladder, and I added what I'll call a spoiler, but it's really a cinder deflector across the back of the roof. And I believe that's about all I've done to this engine to this day. I may go back, now that I know it's supposed to have bands around the boiler, 3 of them, I may put those on. I did center the rear light on the tender. The light was off center. It was over where the ladder is now. Originally, the ladder was on the other side, the left side of the back of the tender. But I took that plastic one off and I added a metal one from Athearn they use on their cabooses. Those are pretty nice ladders for this kind of work. I did a second one of those engines. I may have bought this because it was a reasonably priced at the time. When these things were imported, you could buy them for $100. And this would be another one that I made. And then this is what I was talking about, is if you take a photo of the real locomotive, and then you take a photo of the model, and if you put them on top of each other to get a profile, you can see that this model comes close. It's not perfect, but it comes close to the prototype, and that's good enough for me. Next engine up, the M&L on the branch line 9M model, they ran some 10-wheelers. I think in this class there might have been 4 or 5 engines. I don't know. This is I'll go back a second. This is the way they looked in the 30s. The railroad did some serious upgrades to their Mikados, and when they're doing so, they added extra tin on the sides to give them a little streamlined, racy appearance. And they did the same thing with these 10-wheelers when they upgraded them. You can see that it has some extra tin on the sides with some striping. And this picture of the model, I went a little further with this model than I did the last one. I cut down the 2 domes and the stack to make them shorter, more even in line with the cab roof. And here I've added some styrene to the side. You can see I just basically freehand this piece and put it on. On the other side, there was just a straight piece, photo with the piece being too wide, but no photo after I cut it off. So I put a dotted line on here as to about how much skirting there should be. And I added a backup light to the tender. They like to put them on the back of the coal bunker. This one still has the original plastic ladder on the back, I see. And you can see what I ended up with for plastic along the walkway. Here it shows I added a new headlight on the front. Also, I went a little further and I peeled off the original hand railings and added new brass wire that go down to the pilot in the front. I put all of these headings up at the top above these arrows, and I've got the, I don't know what you call it, the all of the data for Zoom meetings covers it all up.
Yeah.
Next time I'll remember to put it all on the bottom so I can see it.
Yeah. It's supposed to go away, but
yeah, it stays there. That's fine. This shows what I'm getting ready to put the electronics in it. I'm using a Tsunami 2. I built an enclosure around the speaker that came with the engine, and or maybe another engine, I don't know. And I will put a keep alive in here too. Steam engines, you really need to have the keep alive. And then again for the 10-wheeler, I'll transpose those, and it's the domes are spaced out. The bell is about where it's supposed to be, and to me that's good enough. And then here's another photo of one of those locomotives. This one's at Story City. One thing about that engine, let me back up. I haven't watched this since I made it 2 weeks ago. If you'll notice the tender on here, I replaced the tender that came with the 10-wheeler with the mogul tender. And it just didn't look right. There's something wrong with this thing. And I couldn't quite figure it out. And I was going to get rid of it. And a friend of mine said, the problem is the tender's not tall enough. So what I, in there, you can see the tender comes almost up to the roof of the cab. So what I did is I bought another tender body from Bachmann, and then I cut, I don't know, a few feet off of an inch or so, and stacked one on top of the other. And here I didn't bother trying to get rid of the cut line on the back. And you can see where I added that piece on the bottom and basically cut the bottom off one tender and set the other tender on top of it. Then it looked much better. I was happy with the thing. Now we're going to go. I talked about Barry Carlberg. Well, he had me do some steam engines for him. And I'm not quite sure. I don't really remember. I did several of these things, and it's been well since 19. And I don't really remember if I put that IC dome on there or not, because their consolidation is basically a copy of the IC engine. And that is a very distinctive sand dome on these things. And I don't know if I put that on or not. I probably painted the roof, decaled it, and added those extensions onto the coal bunker. Other than that, I'm not sure if I did anything else to it other than make it shiny. And then here you can see I added a light to the back, piece of ladder, again, the Athearn ladder, and then the coal buncher extensions. I'm sure I did the cab roof, that was painted too. And then here's a photo of a real engine with that distinctive sand dome. Now this one doesn't get that sand dome. It's pretty much a stock engine, but I made this one an oil burner. So I basically took the coal bunker, coal piece comes out, and then just used styrene to fill in for that. Other than that, I'm not sure if I did anything to this engine other than weather it slightly and decal it and do the roof. Yeah, here you can see on the back. He also likes footboards on the back of the steam engine. So put those on and some plastic over the coal bunker. And this is another one. This one's a coal burner. Again, probably just decaled, painted the cab roof, and weathered it. Weathering these things is extremely easy. You take a fairly large cosmetic brush and some medium gray pan pastels. Dip the brush in the pan pastels and then wipe it, paint on the engine. And it looks like this. I mean, it's amazing the difference between night and day in about 2 seconds. Not sure here. We got the tender light and the ladder. This one he wanted done up for his own purposes. This is a mogul again, and I used some more plastic to replace the coal bunker, centered the tail, the light, made it shiny, added decals. Also moved, I think this is a different light on the front, and also the letterboard or number board on the front has been added. I think I moved the bell too. The bell probably went up to where the light used to be. This is a Chicago Great Western Mikado. Ron Christensen knows about this. He was taking care of an estate, I believe, selling it off. And I bought Broadway Limited USRA mic from him. And then K4 makes great decals. So I bought their decals and re-lettered it for Great Western. And there's that 2-second weathering job on it again. But it was a real nice engine, ran nice. But one thing I was surprised at is that Broadway Limited gets a small fortune for their steam engines. And yet this thing has a plastic boiler with molded on parts. And I was really kind of surprised to see that. Here's a couple more photos of that engine. Being there were pretty much USRA designs. I really didn't do anything to it other than re-decal it. The engines, the real engines were really close. Back to the Emmett St. L again. Bachmann made a modernized 04 or 440. And the Emmett St. L had some probably left over from Iowa Central or even maybe the original in Minneapolis, St. Louis. This one says a renumbered Iowa Central engine. But their engine was very nice. And it was also extremely expensive, but I got one for a very reasonable price. And again, I changed the tender, went to Bachmann and ordered their mobile tender. And the reason I noticed that the smoke box front is coming off is I stuffed this thing full of as much lead as I could jam into it. And I evidently I didn't get the front back on all the way, or the lead is prohibiting that. But anyway, this thing would pull as much as any other engine on the railroad. I was surprised. Now this guy here is taken here in town, which at the depot. And one thing that I didn't never notice until, well, not recently, but I didn't notice in the beginning, is these things were 260s, not 060s. And you can see in the light is shining right on the front wheel set pilot. You really is showing it off. So what I did is I've always liked the lifelike 260 or 660, the 060. And again, I went to Bachmann and got their pilot truck from their mogul and added it to the front of this guy. And I think that's about all I did to it other than re-stencil it with decals. I was able to buy, I can't, is it TCI, TEC? There's a company that makes sound decoders, and you get the whole unit in basically in one piece. You get the sound decoder, keep alive, and the speaker are all one unit. And I thought, well, that's quick, easy. I'll put that in this tender. And so I did that. But then you have to dial up something, and then this thing talks to you, and you program it the way it tells you to. And I said, screw that. And it went on the market. And somebody else got a chance to figure out how to program the damn thing. But anyway, there's a couple more photos I took of it. I can't, is it TCI? It's T somebody, TCS. They're the ones that make the KA keep alives. They make 1, 2, and 3, 4. They're different configurations of capacitors. No? Okay. All right, now we're at
Train control systems.
who is that?
Yeah.
Train control systems. TCS.
TCS. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, anyway, this is another Bachmann consolidation. This isn't a real thing, but we're going to do a Bachmann consolidation. Now, I just recently watched one that Mark Carlson did where he changed to this clear view tender. And that's what we're going to do with this engine. Here's another photo of one of them with that coal bunker squeezed in tighter so you can see past it. And another one. Lloyd was good to me. So what I did was basically slice off the sides of the coal bunker and just flattened everything out. And you can look behind. I also added an extra window in the cab. I think there's some photos that show that better. So I took plastic and made the new coal bunker and a piece of tubing to act as the cylinder that would push the coal down closer in as it was used up. And I want to show you this one here. I did no measurements. I very seldom ever measure anything. But I made it too narrow. So I redid it. This one here is wider than the original. And you can see that there's some like 125 by 125 styrene along the bottom that's setting on the holding the whole thing up back together again. And then here it is with a coal load in it and lots of soupy Elmer's glue to hold it in place. And this is how I went about. I couldn't figure out how in the hell to get the cab off the boiler. So I just went ahead and added the window with the cab on the boiler. What I did was drill a whole bunch of holes in the thing and then went around with a knife and cut them all out, and then kept cutting and cutting and whacking until I could get this window in there. So here's the finished engine with, again, I don't know if I added those, I must have added those class lights on the back of the tender, added a light on the tender, again, the Athearn ladder on the thing, and that extra window in the engine. These are beautiful running engines too. This was a very nice engine. I really enjoyed having it around. Not here now. Another photo. Now we're going to go something I didn't notice, and I just noticed when I was putting this together, is if you notice the cab, there's a door that's partially open, and that cab is slanted. It's not, doesn't have a 90-degree corner. But this is a Milwaukee 280. And it has also, the domes are different on the roof than the Bachmann car engine. This one shows an extension or photo, but it's what I had. It shows an extension on the coal bunker. And then this is the locomotive after I was done modifying it. You can see that I basically swapped the bell and the sand dome around. Moved one from one place to the other and added extensions onto the tender. This shows how this series of shots will show you how I went about. I hacked off that sand dome. I put a piece of paper up underneath there, cardstock, and then used a pencil to draw around it. Took that piece, laid it on a piece of styrene and cut around it, and then stuck that up in the hole, and then used I won't say gap filling, but thick ACC around the edges. And after that dried, I went over the whole thing with body putty or modeling putty, and then sanded it all smooth. And here I did finish the boiler wrap where by the bell, you can see that where it's the splice is just above the hand stanchion, the railing stanchion. And then I used, I think I used a different dome on the front, probably a brass dome. I don't know where it came from. But this is the way the ladder comes on the tender, and it's fairly crude compared to the Athearn one. But again, a really nice engine, how it's gone. So I have to keep replacing these consolidations as I go through them. This one here I picked up off an estate sale at a really reasonable price. And this one, as you can see, that what's referred to as a loaf of bread tender. It's so friggin' ugly that they wouldn't even let the emblem wouldn't go on the tender because it was too ugly. It had to go on the side of the coal bunker. The crews had to walk up to these things backwards in order to be able to get on them. They're that ugly. Well, this shows one with a doghouse. And a friend of mine gave me a little phone booth, and I was going to put it on the one I made, but I can't find it, so it's not on there. But anyway, I got these nice photos from Steve Heil show me how to build one of these ugly mothers. This is a photo from Jim Reber, and it shows that, let me back up here to explain something. If you'll notice on the top of this guy, the domes have been changed. They're small, they're different size, and they're not the same as the ones on the Bachmann. But this one, they're really close, this 21,000 series. So this is the engine I'm going to make. And then this is the locomotive after I made the friggin' tender. And decaled it with old Champ decals. And they were so old, they broke up into about 40,000 pieces. So they're not exactly straight, but they're on there anyway. And then here's the other side. And this thing is, I'll get to it here in a minute. I got a lot of photos of this. I bought a roundhouse Vanderbilt tender, which I was surprised. It's a very nice unit. And I cut off the coal bunker. And then the base, in order to get my new superstructure that I'm going to build, I had to remove this fan that goes around the thing, just on the ends. This is a second base, not the one I'm using. Then I kind of freehand what this tank is supposed to look like. These things actually came as regular Vanderbilt tenders, and they wanted to increase the water volume. So they made them into these funny looking things. And then once it was cut out, I cut the insides out because I have to have room for electronics. And then here you can see I've got a solid on the back, and I'll put two arches in the middle for support. And here they are, and it's setting on the base to make sure everything's going to fit. And then the part that worried me the most was taking that rounded water jacket and making that fit up against the angles of the coal bunker. And I was able to basically come up with this simple design. And here you see I've added some supports. They're not exactly straight. If I would put one end on and then hit it with the accelerator, and sometimes I didn't, and it'd slide. And my modeling isn't what it used to be, if it ever was. But anyway, here I've got a piece of plastic that I cut, probably 10 thousandths, and I've wrapped that around my my superstructure. Here I've added the coal bunker. Now lots of archer rivets. There's more to come. And then there's walkways along either side. And then for walkway supports, I just drilled underneath them and added like 20 thousandths wire and then snipped it off. And then I just took a piece of basically, I forget what it's called. It's a scribed styrene sheet, and just cut some of that to make the walkway across the middle of the car, and used some styrene to make the water filler, and then bent flat brass wire out of leftover from Westerfield kits to make the supports, and then used, I think, 15 thousandths wire for the handrails. They were a real pain in the ass to get them both the same. They're not actually correct at the ends, but it was where they back by the back of the car. But it was a lot easier to do them this way than maybe how they were. And then you can see some regular freight car ladders that I've added. The other side, and looking down on it. And this is the back of one of them. And then there's the back of mine. And then I've got it drilled out so that when all the electronics are put inside, it can all be screwed down and it'll sit on there flat. That was the other thing. I don't know if I have a picture of it. No, I don't. I've got a friend sold me a Loxam 21 pin decoder, and the model came with DC ready and had an 8-pin plug on a board that's in the tender. So I had to find somebody that made an 8-pin to 21-pin adapter. Well, I found one. I've got that on hand. So basically, I just need the two boards will plug together and no other wiring will need to be done. I went to Scale Sound Systems and bought a speaker that's about the size of the inside of the coal bunker. So it should have plenty of good sound. The only thing I'm missing is the Loaf Sound Keep Alive, which I believe they call a power pack or something. But I'm going to give this to Jason Clockey, and he's going to add all the electronics, and he'll get a hold of the Keep Alive when they come in, and then he has the ability to program the Loaf Sound stuff. So,
Clark?
Yeah,
You look at that second tank car? That's an
Yeah.
unusual car back there.
yeah, yeah, it's a 2-compartment. I'm guessing it's a big car, 10,000 or maybe bigger. It's almost like it was built as some of these things were built as single domes. I've got a model by Southern Car and Foundry of one that was turned in a single dome car that was turned into a 3-dome, and the end domes are smaller because it started out as a single dome car, but they added bulkheads inside to make it 3 compartments. And then with the smaller space, they didn't need a large expansion domes that they would put on one big tank. So it has a large one in the middle and 2 smaller ones on each side. This one here looks like they're both the same size. It's possible it was built like that. I can't say for sure. It has something, looks like something large written on the side, but I have no idea what it is. But yeah, it's a good catch. Yeah, it's kind of a neat car. Also, this thing is up near O-Line. So they've got some tractors on there too. I don't know what, if they probably are, could be, they look, yeah, but they're John Deere's with white lettering on them too. And the end. That's it. They ain't no more.
All right. Very good,
Hey.
Clark. Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know how long that lasted, but
Hey, Clark, what'd you use for
Yeah.
handrail stanchions on that Milwaukee?
let me see if I can bring that back up again. It went away. What did I do? My screen went black. Let's see. Are you sharing?
You're sharing.
Okay. Well, there. I'm back. Okay. We'll go down here. Oh, it's here. I'm looking at the wrong place.
You need a side view.
Yep, I'm getting there. These are
There you go.
there. The 2
Yep,
stanchions, one on each side.
Correct.
It's pieces of wire that are just they're drilled
Yeah.
into the and then super glued to the
Okay.
to the railing.
Okay, you made them rather than, you didn't buy a commercial. Okay.
No, yeah, everything's bent. Even there are guys that would go like you that would build a jig and bend all of those flat pieces so they all match. But I bend each one of them individually and slap them on there. I figured once they're painted black, nobody's going to see them anymore anyway. But I did change my blade in my X-Acto knife, and you can see what happens. There's still blood stains on the side of the engine I just happened to
Yeah.
touch it from, just touch one finger on the other hand with it, and I could do a blood test on it. Yeah, that's, and then there's a piece up here. I don't know if it shows up in another photo.
Yeah.
That'll make it more collectible.
I guess so. It's painted over now. Yeah, there's an extra little piece up here. A couple of pieces of that flat stuff here, and a thin piece of styrene strip. And then because it sticks up like that, while I'm working on this, I keep knocking it off all the time. And you can see there's rivets missing here too, where I've by handling, they fall off.
Oh. They're touchy.
Yeah, so that's it.
Mark, you did what, when I was in flying model airplanes, we had an event that was called standoff scale, where the plane was judged inside of a 10-foot circle, and the judge couldn't get closer than the edge of the circle. So this would be like a standoff scale for model trains, where you'd put the train in the middle of a 2-foot circle, and you just don't get down on it with a magnifying glass. You're
Yes, exactly.
you know, I like that.
Yep. Yeah, it's what they call the 3-foot rule.
Yeah, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
arm length or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, this is, there's going to be, Tony Custer asked me to write a chapter for a book that he's doing. And I just finished it, and he did this, he put this smoke on this picture. And there was actually, where I'm running my cursor is the actual fascia on the railroad. And I filled all this in with just that magic eraser thing in or duplicate or whatever stamp it's called in Photoshop elements. Fill that all in to make it look better. But this is going to be, he did something here when he screwed with this. You can see that something of this little section got slit. This maybe should be up here, and this would be here. I don't know. But anyway, this will be the title page for the chapter in his book, if I live long enough for him to publish it, or he lives long enough, one of the two of us. But anyway, that's the end of the advertisement.
Good.
nice.
Thank you, Clark.
You're welcome.
Well
I'm gonna
done.
stop sharing.
We have next week, we are hoping and praying that Mott recovers his voice. And then he will.
Wait a minute. No, no, say it isn't true.
So that will be, if Mont is able to recover his voice, then that will be our presentation for Boxing Day, the 26th of December. And we'll go on from there. So if anybody wants to present after that, I guess we're into January at that point, 2025. Our 5th year of doing these Zoom calls. It's amazing.
Wow.
Marches on.
Congratulations, guys.
Well,
I've got the one that I did in Naperville this year. I can do
Okay.
that sometime.
Great.
you want.
Well, we'll get you on the schedule for sure. And in the meantime, everybody have a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you hopefully before New Year. But if not, have a happy New Year too.
Yep.
The,
Thank you.
Great.
care.
Have a good one,
Happy,
everyone.
happy, everybody.
Great and safe holiday.
Congratulations on your 5th birthday.
Not till May. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.